Hey everybody, I'm Michelle with Birdie Bloom, and today we are going to do that Ergo counterfeit video. I've already said that the Ergo line, all of the bags in it, they are one of the top counterfeited bags, one of the top 5 in my opinion. You see a lot of counterfeits, that's what I mean by that. So counterfeiters must have really liked that style, or it was popular at the time that they were in heavy production of making counterfeits. But one of these Ergo mini zips, and I'm doing that because, you know, it's not really an Ergo mini zip if it's counterfeit, people, but it's a lookalike. One of these is counterfeit, and I'm wondering if you can tell which one it is. I'll show you a little bit more of each, and then we'll talk about it, okay? And I find this is going to be an interesting counterfeit video because it's not obviously counterfeit, and we'll talk about that too. So let's first show you this one. You see this kind of like square inside. This is the pocket side. There's an inside pocket, and that kind of happens with some of the bags. You know, they end up, that pocket kind of like ends up almost poking through. Well, I have the bag stuff, but this is one of them. Okay. Ergo mini zip. I'll put it on. Ooh. And then this is another. The other one, again, this is the pocket side. Oh, I didn't show the bottom of the other one. And we'll put this one on. I'm gonna wear the non-pocket side out. Ooh. I'm wearing my, what do you call this? Romper? I don't know. My romper from Dick's Sporting Goods. Obsessed. All right. So, yeah, which one do you think? The first one or second one? Which one's the counterfeit? I'll put them on the same side. Can you tell? Maybe side by side you can tell, or at least make an educated guess. But the counterfeit is this one. Let's talk about it. So let me make sure I was right, because it's difficult for me. Yeah, I'm right. Okay. So here is a creed for this, guys. Well, let me tell you a little bit of a story. So when I got this one really early on, I got it for pretty cheap, and I thought it was my first Ergo. Even though Ergos are really popular right now, they were also really popular before. And what I mean by that is, like, now the prices have skyrocketed. All of Vintage Coach has. Just more people are aware of the value and the amazingness of it. And that's what's led to the increase in prices. But even back then, when I was looking, I still felt like most Ergos were priced higher than other bags. So it was kind of hard to find an Ergo at the price point that I wanted to pay at the time, because over time I am willing to pay more as well. That's just what happens. But anyways, I found this one on Marketplace, and I thought for sure it was authentic. Here is the creed. I shared it in the Coach Counterfeits group, thought it was authentic, and I was told sadly that it was not. It was not authentic, and I didn't believe them. I didn't believe them, because looking at the creed still to this day, it doesn't jump out as bad. So let's look at this. Let's break it down. What we have is a G Plant USA, supposedly, right? It says made in 1999 in November. The L stands for November. Yeah, again, in the USA. There is a G Plant in the USA. I was using all the tools I had available to me to try to authenticate it myself. The spacing looks really good. There's no misspellings in the creed. I'm okay with the font. It's not screaming out at me, because some fonts are just really bad and they scream out. Though there are some authentic fonts that are like really wonky too, and they're authentic. But again, it all depends on the year, the manufacturing plant, all of that has to be taken into account. And the only thing on here that you could like say without knowing all the fonts. The only thing on here is that long line that you see under the NO, under the number NO, that long line under that O there, it's there. And now you see that a lot in counterfeits. Short lines are really good. Long lines, they can be bad, but they're not necessarily bad because there are some fonts that have that. So that is not 100%, okay? That's the only thing there. But this is counterfeit. So as I was told that, I thought, well, I'm just gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep a hold of it. I'm gonna do more, buy more bags, do more like hands-on research. I don't know. I don't know if I believe them. I think they might be wrong. I think those experts might be wrong. And I will tell you, after I've got more Ergos and I have done more hand-on research, I can tell you that they were not wrong. Even though I can still look at this font, and this is one that I would need to get a font professional to help me out with, they were not wrong. Okay, so let's go over why. Oh, and just saying that the point of this video, even if you're not interested in Ergos, I'm trying to like just give maybe some information to people who think that it's as easy as Googling the style number. Oh, I didn't even mention that. The style number is correct for this, the style, 9020. 9020 is correct for the Ergo Mini Zip. And the year of manufacturing, it's appropriate. This line came out in 1997, so the fact that it says it was made in 1999, that is not a dead giveaway. That is also appropriate, right? But to authenticate Vintage Coach, it does go a lot further. Sometimes some are really easy to authenticate, but they're not all. It does go a lot further than simply putting in the style number, Googling it, seeing the image of the bag that you have in hand pop up and being like, oh, it's okay, it's great. It's also much bigger than, identifying YKK zippers. This has a YKK zipper. This counterfeit has a YKK zipper. It actually has the exact same zipper as this non-counterfeit Ergo zip. Exact same circle, because sometimes that can be off, sometimes that can be a little bit different in size. Hardware can be different, it all can be different, but in this case it's not. The zipper's appropriate, but I will point out some things that are not right. And that would be, the first thing would be the zipper pull. Do you see the difference here? Oh gosh. Look how big that one is compared to this one. And I have multiple Ergo Mini zips and they all have an appropriate smaller size zipper pull. So that also reaffirms to me that this is not authentic. This bag that I thought maybe isn't, okay? Oh, the leather also, it doesn't feel terrible. It feels good, actually. It feels a lot like a lot of the Vintage Coach. It's actually a quality leather, I would say. And look I even dig these like beautiful lines in here. This one's a little softer. And if you look, maybe the shape is a little different, but that's not something you can really eyeball very easily. And also it depends on how the bag was stored, how maybe you stuffed it and reshaped it. All of that can matter. So that in itself, it's pretty like appropriate to the shape. So, but yeah, leather's okay. So that zipper pull is the first one, but the zipper looks good. The actual zipper looks good. And here's another thing I spotted. Do you see that? Do you see how the stops here for the zipper? They're silver. That's questionable. There are some bags that did things like painted these, and they might have been silver and they were painted black and they're authentic, and that starts chipping away. That's not something, it's something that might make me pause, but I'm not going to throw it away because of that. So that gives me pause. I'm going to show you this one and all the other ones. Look at, it's a brass stopper there. So there's that. Lining them all up, I will tell you that the strap is a little shorter on the counterfeit. But if you have had enough Vintage Coach bags and you maybe collect a particular style, you will see that sizing can be off anyways. So that's not a dead giveaway, though it is quite shorter. I have some that maybe are slightly shorter with this, but this one is quite shorter. So that's a little off. Again, not something I'm going to be able to like look at and say, oh, that's fake because it's not long enough. No, all of these bags, you know, they're handmade. You line up, maybe if you collect different colors, they might come in different years and whatnot, but you line them all up. They will vary in size, so that is very normal. They'll be very similar, but they will not necessarily measure out to those catalog, specifically to those catalog measurements. They may be off, and sometimes they can be off what I consider a decent amount, like an inch. That's a lot. When you're talking about something that's 11 inches and you're off by almost a whole inch, that's a lot, right? But it's possible. So there's that. And then I want you to look at the inside here. I'm gonna unstuff these. Something I find very interesting. Okay, so the pocket is appropriate. It's a little pocket that flips out. That's where that creed is that I showed you, that G plant creed. This all feels normal. The construction looks okay. All of the stitching on this bag is appropriate. And look at the back. Look at it. It has this nice, like, nicely dyed raw leather. But I want you to look at the authentic one. It might give you pause because, and I'll show you the creed on this authentic one too, just in case you're like, you know, like I need to see the authentic creed to know that you're right. Here is the creed on this one. I think that's a pretty good visual. Look, it has that overstamping, slight overstamping, which is a really good sign. Made in January 1998. Factory D, the D plant for a USA. You'll find the USA up in here. But this is an authentic one. And to remind you, I did a video on overstamping if you want to check that out. But look at the back of its pocket. Oh, what? This can't be real. Is this real? But it is. It's authentic. So you can find both nice smooth backings. You can find backings that have like significant scars from the leather. You can find so much in Vintage Coach. They did not stay consistent with how they did their pockets and the back sides of leather that you don't see in a bag normally. We don't wear this bag flipped out. So in this case, they used a piece that was not like necessarily dyed completely thoroughly. Okay. What they probably honestly did was thinned it out heavily, because you can even see the thinning part here. They probably thinned it out, but just so the pocket wasn't so bulky. But yep, that's normal. That can be seen, but you can also see a nice little pocket backing as well. So I've got another thing to show you. This is going to be a little harder for me to show. I might need to show pictures. But inside you have these little flaps on the ergos that go in the corners here. Maybe this will work. So what you see here with these little flaps, it is actually different from the authentic. They're all the kind of the same shape, but they're thicker. And they have this like normal leather backing. You see that? Can you see the shine there? It's this like pretty leather backing, like what you see on the outside of the bag. This part's raw and it flaps up, which it shouldn't do. Okay, it's thick. It's a lot thicker, I can feel it, than the authentic Ergo Mini Zip and other Ergos, where it's a much flatter piece. It's not as, I guess, pretty of a leather. It's a flatter piece. Let's see, can I get in this one? Oh gosh. Let's see. I mean, you can hardly even see it. Do you see how flat that is against the side? It's stuck to the side. Not that they can't flip up a little bit, like start to curl, but it's an extremely thin piece of leather and it's flattened. Yeah, and it's not got that smooth backing. It's just another raw part of the leather. So it was just really shaved down, and why they did it, I don't know. It has to do with the construction. So I guess maybe it reinforces this little part here. I'm not sure, but they have it. And yeah, they should be flatter and they shouldn't be as thick as they are in the counterfeit. But they both have a seam at the bottom. The strap I told you was shorter. I will point out this, even though I don't want to put too much emphasis on it. But do you see, this is the counterfeit one. Do you see, it's only on this side. It's not on this side. You can see the strap is also a little thicker if you really line them up. There's a lot of little differences, but nothing screams out. We call this kind of like elephant leather, sort of. And on this one, I don't necessarily always want to mention that because it could also be wrinkling and it could be a type of wear, but you do see it on really bad leathers typically. And this isn't a bad leather, but you get this like elephant wrinkling in some areas. But I want you to be cautious with that, because just because you see something of the such doesn't necessarily mean it's counterfeit. There could be other reasons, and you might be looking at something that I wouldn't call elephant leather, or another person wouldn't. We might call it like wrinkling, normal wrinkling or wear, or yeah. So just be careful. But you do see that elephant leather in some fakes and some counterfeits. So one more thing I wanted to mention was the hang tag that came with this one. Now hang tags are removable. So I don't ever go based on authenticity, though I did recently see a bag that I think was very old, that had a very old authentic hang tag that would have been appropriate for the era. And yeah, I think that bag was authentic. I'm going to not get into all of that because there's a lot more to that. But this one came on here, and I remove counterfeit hang tags and I put them in a special place because I don't want them to get mixed up with my authentic, because I think it's very hard. I look at this and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with this one. It actually looks really good. I don't know what you think, but yeah, this doesn't scream to me non-authentic, but this does. And so I wanted to point it out because this is a big thing that I think should make people pause when you have mismatched hardware. Always, if you see a bag that has the rivets in it with the straps and the rivets are silver, when the bag has brass hardware, you should pause. Now, can a strap, like one of those removable straps, be replaced? Absolutely, but it's most likely actually counterfeit. And so same thing with the ball chains. So now somebody could put a counterfeit ball hang tag, because a lot of people like hang tags. So someone might try to find a hang tag. They might have gotten a counterfeit. That's all very possible. But it all should give you pause because this is not normal. You have this like brass connector with a silver ball chain. And why it's not normal, you see it a lot in counterfeits, a lot. I don't know why. It seems like it would have been easy enough to get like little brass ball chains, but yeah, you see that a lot with counterfeits. So it should give you pause. But yeah, I don't know. I know I didn't really teach you much in this video as far as how to authenticate, maybe how to investigate. Did I do that? But most importantly, what I hope you take away from this video is that authenticating a vintage coach, it goes much further than really simple Googling or like making sure things match up. Font is a big thing. Font is also something that I personally, my brain has no interest in learning. There's a lot that I want to learn, a lot that I like to learn, and a lot that I focus on, but that is not one of them. And so I leave that up to the font experts, the people who really like to look at that. Our brains all work differently, right? And so, yeah, and I do have one of those persons in my group. Her name is Anna, and she is fabulous. And she is actually one of the people that told me, the first person that told me that this was counterfeit, this Ergo here was counterfeit. And even though I adore her and I respect her, I was like, no, you're wrong. It's not counterfeit, but it is. So she was right. Anyway, she is in my group and she is a font expert for sure. But yeah, so vintage coach, it's it can be a little complicated, but Ergos were heavily counterfeited, so be careful. And that, I think, is all that I have for you. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up for the video and come join Vintage Coach Eye Candy on Facebook if you want to look at pictures of Vintage Coach bags and the like. I mean, we accept other things. Anything vintage that you can say is Vintage Coach related. I can get into it. So that's all I got for you guys. I hope you liked the video. Let me know below. Bye-bye. So I know we were talking about a counterfeit G plant. Again, it's not the G plant because it's counterfeit. It's not necessarily, it wasn't even necessarily made in 1999, even though the creed says that, right? But I want to show you something interesting about an authentic G plant creed. And I'm going to show you one here. This is what I call, and others call, the Wandering G. And you know, here, let's compare these two creeds, the authentic one and a counterfeit. Now, they're not all G plants are necessarily going to look like this Wandering G plant. You have to take that into consideration. A lot of times fonts can vary in the same plant, but you would look and probably assume that the normal looking creed, the normal lined up creed would be the authentic one, right? Because it just looks better visually. But it's that Wandering G that actually helps you to authenticate. So where I am not a font expert, I do focus on those like weird creeds that exist. And I do want to do a video that actually lists a lot of the common errors, authentic errors, the common Vintage Coach authentic errors. I will do one eventually because I think it's fascinating. But that's what I like to pick up with my brain. Not so much the authentic normal looking fonts. I like the weirdness. And the G plant, there is this Wandering G. If you see a Wandering G, it is most likely authentic. Always helps to get it checked. And I am careful with G plants now because of my like persistent assumption that that bag was authentic for a little while. But yeah, so just thought that was interesting and wanted to share.